Welcome to the Old-Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons, while drinking an old-fashioned. If you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button now. Platforms other than YouTube tend to block some of our content. Subscribe now to get up-to-date videos and shorts as they release. Now, enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Old-Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons while drinking an old-fashioned. I'm Brian.
And I'm Russ.
Russ, tell our folks who we have. We've got some stuff to talk about. So,
we do, so we're going to get to it. Devon Olson is our guest today. Brother Devon.
Thank you for having me here.
Welcome.
Appreciate it.
So, have you seen any of the episodes?
Briefly. I don't get on the internet too much.
I get it.
Busy running around doing other
things. I get it.
So what you're saying is you've never seen one?
I didn't say that. I said I haven't seen the full one.
That's hey, you got to help the click count. So before we start, Russ and I, we are wearing some shirts, fraternal ties.
Shout out.
Appreciate you guys. So you'll check them out in the description. Fraternal ties, they have a lot of Masonic, what I'd call swag.
Thank you for sending me one that is full-bodied, carrying a little holiday weight since 1991. I appreciate you.
I like it, and I've been accused of wearing a medium. It's a large. You judge me all you want. So we digress, but fraternal ties, thanks for what you do.
Appreciate it.
So although you haven't seen a full episode, or many, so we like to know as much about the man as we do the Mason. So push Masonry to the side.
Okay.
Who's Devon the man?
Born June of 1976. Lived in Kansas pretty much my whole life other than my military career.
Okay.
And whereabouts did you grow up?
Pretty much on the east side of town,
okay.
For the most part. Spent a lot of time out in eastern Kansas, out near Fall River, Severy, Howard area.
All right.
Had family that lived out there, so we spent a lot of time out in the country. Every chance I could, I would be, hated growing up in the city. But
shout out to the Howard Mafia.
Yeah, that's right. Elk County.
Elk County.
A lot of them didn't realize until later on in the road.
Yeah.
Joined the military when I was 17 years old. Those were the 82nd Airborne Division, Paratrooper. I did 2 tours in the Middle East, back to back. I was home 10 months and 4.5 years. 47 years old, just turned 47.
Thank you for your service.
Appreciate it.
Cheers. Thank you, gentlemen.
You too.
And I'm an avid hunter. I have my beautiful wife, Beth. We just hit 27 years together on Friday.
Nice, congrats. I like it.
Got to learn enough in the military and in the shrine and Masons to make sure you give props to your other half.
You have to.
I've got a 16-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old daughter. We are all active. They're in all kinds of sports. So I'm a sports dad a lot. Trying to make every function I can. Mm-hmm. On top of training in jiu-jitsu myself. So I got them into it to teach them some discipline and how to protect themselves and to get myself back in shape. I've been in it off and on for a number of years. So but just now I'm at the stage I've started to look towards retirement. So I started planning on here. It's like, man, I don't know where this. I went from being a G to an OG at some point. I don't know where.
Right. Well, that passes us by sometimes.
Real quick.
It does, doesn't it?
Well, walk us through your Masonic journey.
Okay. My grandfather was master of the lodge in Clearwater, Kansas. Actually, he passed away before I was born, but I grew up with holding the family Bible and not realizing it until one day it clicked, and I'm looking through it, and it's a Masonic Bible, and it's got the family written through, and none of my uncles carried on that tradition, and I always promised my mom that I was going to be a Mason and pay things back because I was a Shriner child myself and received medical care.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
that. And so for me, it was a natural progression to kind of pay it forward. I'd put it off for a long time. I didn't think I was ready, and then ran into some gentlemen that I got to know fairly well, and they got me in, and I actually came in 2007, right before my oldest daughter was born, and literally about 8 weeks before I got deployed for the second time. And I wanted to make sure I didn't do it the traditional way. Unfortunately, I did it all in one day.
Everyone's got their journey.
I did my second and third degree. I did the
York Rite. You did a C2A.
Yes.
Okay. So that's not. So Russ actually was an all the way in one day Mason.
I was a 1 day Mason.
Okay.
Yes.
So we were C2As. I was a C2 as well. So we're always a little, I don't want to say we're defensive of it, but that was your path. That was your path.
The path.
Absolutely.
Right.
I just knew that after my first tour, I had a pretty rough tour. A lot of bad things happened.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to make sure I get this done.
Yeah.
I've made a promise. I'm one of those guys that I'm not quick to promise, but if I do promise,
Yeah.
I'm going to fulfill it.
I do.
No matter what it takes.
I do know that about you. It makes me wonder if you go back into the World War I and II, with the Masonry was just on this trajectory because so many people, because they're like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to come back, but at least I want to, frankly, I just want to die a Mason.
And carry on the family tradition.
Yeah. So it's, as you were saying that, it just kind of, it's like, I've got a promise is one thing, but I'm also going to be a Mason.
And it's still really prevalent in the military if you know what to look for.
Right.
And I didn't really think about it too much, but on my second tour, when my whole unit went to Wisconsin for mobilization training, there was a lot of instructors that were military instructors. They'd see my ring, and they'd come up and they'd say hi to me, and I'm like, hey, are you traveling, man?
Yeah, right.
Like,
Right.
Hey. He goes, hey, Sarge, I got a deal for you. If your people shut up and be quiet, I can have this 8-hour training done in 2 hours. Y'all can go chill, but they got to stay out of trouble.
Like, we can do
Got
it.
you.
We can do it.
Walk back to the commander and, hey, sir, would you be okay if we were done in 2 hours? He goes, how the hell did you pull that?
Yeah.
Don't ask.
Well, but that's that thing with the fraternity. We've all been through the same thing, and so they know that if we say something, it means something, and so we'll kind of dive into that a little bit.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
So you became a Master Mason. When did you become? Did you go to Scottish Rite, York Rite?
Yes, sir. I did. I did the Scottish Rite and the York Rite when I came back from my deployment.
Okay.
Actually, so I did. I came all the way into the shrine that very first day,
Right.
And then just over a year later, about a year and a half later, is when I came through the Scottish Rite.
Gotcha.
I did the first degree of the York Rite this past beginning of the summer.
Oh, okay.
But unfortunately, I had prior commitments, commitments
Life got
to
in
go
the way.
do.
Yeah,
I still want to complete it because I'm a ridiculously stupid Knights Templar fanatic.
Yeah.
Huge.
Well, very cool.
Yeah,
Watched every movie ever made,
Yeah,
and of course the Oak Island guys.
Right. Nice.
They're fun, and I don't.
So you mentioned it. You were a shrine kid. So
Yes, sir.
Walk us through that.
I'm not a shrine child in some of the traditional sense. I didn't have to go to the hospital. I was born with severe orthodontic issues.
Okay.
My bottom jaw was so far back that you could take your thumb, put it on the roof of your mouth, and still close your jaw.
Oh, wow.
And it caused a lot of issues. So Dr. Dillahay, which
Yeah.
is a Shriner here
He
in
is.
town,
He is.
actually...
Ken.
Yep, they took care of me 100%.
Yeah.
Fixed my jaw, brought everything back out. And if it wasn't for them taking care of me, I'd never been able to join the military, which got me my education. So it's just been so integrated from one step to another. And it does give me a unique perspective of Masonry and Shrindom that a lot of people will never have.
Yeah. Well, why do you think? So I think there are a lot of shrine kids out there. Why do you think we don't have more shrine kids, but equally as important, their dads joining Masonry? What are we missing? Are we just is the ask just not there? Are we just not asking the question like, hey?
Well, to be one, ask one had its place in time.
I agree.
Kind of like the Army used to have this, this advertising campaign. We do more by 6 a.m. than most people do an entire day.
Right.
That was a really dumb campaign because we're going to make you work twice as hard as everybody else for half the pay.
Right.
Right now, there's so many other things out in this world that you can do. People aren't going to be searching for that insight and that camaraderie. They don't know it exists.
Right.
You have to tell people what exists now. And with the internet age, there's all kinds of there's tons of things to do nowadays. So you have to present yourself. One of the things, get out in public and do more. As a lodge, one of the first things I did when I came in was we gave up an entire Saturday. We moved some old playground equipment off of a school, and then had paid to donate new equipment, so people saw you out there doing stuff.
So let's talk about that for a second, because I've got a thought about. So I was fortunate to always have good health insurance. So if my kid would have needed something, most of the time it would have been paid for,
right,
and it would have just been taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
So there, at times, I believe, our shrine patients sometimes have families that may or may not be able to afford the right health care.
Right.
It does cost money to be a Mason. It's not free.
Right.
And quite frankly, it's expensive, and is probably should be more expensive than it is. Yeah. So do sometimes those dads actually go, oh, I can't afford that, so they just don't ask? Or they don't pursue it because
I think there's a combination of both. That's fair.
That?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just...
Well, they're
I'm
like,
just
hey, all
there.
of these rich white guys, that's been the kind of the perception of Masons and Shriners forever, and that's not the case. Is it like, well, I mean, I'd like to be part of that, but I probably can't afford X. So I think it's a combination of what you say, and are we not having to ask?
Right.
Say, hey, thanks for giving us the opportunity to take care of Devon.
Yeah.
Would you like to be part of this so you could pay it forward somehow?
Yeah.
Are we just missing that somehow?
Well, very possible, but...
But is it also skewed of like, hey, we helped your kid, come join us?
You shouldn't want to pressure somebody. I definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, in this day and age, you look at instant gratification in a lot of people.
Yep.
Most people don't see... they're looking for a physical or a substantial item or something
tangible.
Something tangible. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And you're not going to find it intangible, and you don't realize it's there until you've achieved it.
Yes.
We don't make men good men. We take good men and make them better.
Right.
By surrounding yourself with other Masons. So if you take a bad apple, a bad apple, and you put it in a basket of good apples, it's not going to make they're not going to make that one apple good.
Right.
So it's about working together, and I think we need to have more functions. I've got a gentleman that's coming in, asked for his petition recently, and I invited him out to a couple of our functions while at my house when we had the Air Patrol guys with us. And so they got to meet the guys that they would be hanging out with on a regular basis, and they saw how quickly they accepted him and how much they loved him.
Stealth marketing, baby. Stealth marketing.
You just show them that you're going to have a good time and meet wonderful people that'll back you up.
Yeah. But also don't just assume that the second you become a Mason, you receive all of this. It's a journey, and
it really is.
The internet makes it seem that way because there's so many
20 years
secrets.
down the road, you might actually, that's when actually get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
When I was deployed, right after, I had just come into the shrine in the Masons, and I was gone 8 weeks later.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, with a brand new baby, the patrol guys and the lodge guys that I knew, they would call my wife and check on her. They came and mow the yard. That's what you're getting. That kind of a human being.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. So you have to be able to figure out how to market that true love and care. Everybody says you got to get along with. They don't realize it. There's groups out there that already embody that.
Yeah. Well, Masons who are Masons will get this. Those who aren't Masons, we have made a promise to you before you even joined. Before you have joined to become a Mason, we have already made a promise to you that we will fulfill some obligations. We will look after. There's just some things that we'll do. So that's, to me, that's one of the biggest asterisk / selling points of, hey, if you go off, we got you. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned the Air Patrol. So Air Patrol is a unit in the shrine.
Correct.
Right? So tell everyone why the Air Patrol is the best unit to join.
I would love to say it's the best unit for them to join, but it may not be the best unit for you or somebody else.
Okay.
For me, it was the
Why
best
is it the best unit?
For me, is because it's a marching unit. It's a ceremony unit. It's the oldest unit in the temple. To have a temple, you have to have a band for the will and pleasure of the potentate, and you have to have the Air Patrol, which provides the security.
By charter.
It is
no other unit in there. I don't want to hear, I need to store my fire truck. I need all this other shots fired, boys. I don't care. But the Air Patrol is required by charter.
It is, and the reason it settled with me so much is because of my military background.
Yeah, makes sense.
I also coached middle school ROTC kids for a number of years and had national championship.
You guys are pretty decorated too. Let's be honest.
They are.
You've got the biggest trophy case in the entire building.
Because we're the oldest, so we just had time to build up.
All right, I like the humbleness. But you guys are still holding it down.
And they're an amazing group of guys that they may not be the most wild or the most rambunctious.
Nope.
But man, they've got class.
I
do.
agree.
They've got
I
class.
agree. And you know what?
Oh, hold on.
You probably got the
Hold on.
You probably got the coolest drummer boy out there.
Yeah, and there's some wildness in there too. So
Yeah,
I didn't say there wasn't any.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
said.
Oh no,
we're
yeah,
not
you
the
tried to
wildest.
slide
Yeah.
that.
I said,
Oh,
no,
we're-
we're not the wildest by any means.
No, but you got them in there.
There's a couple.
You got him in there.
So, while in the military, just pick one. What was your favorite part of the military, your favorite deployment? But what was something that you went, you know what, this was I just really liked this.
The one thing that I just always fall back on today is I was a paratrooper. You know, I jumped out of airplanes at dark 30.
Mm-hmm.
I did the stuff that you see on those stupid commercials, and
yeah.
everybody's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do that." And then you get in there, and you end up being a cook or something like that,
right.
which is nothing wrong. I love
Hey,
cooks. Got great guys.
cooks have jump wings too.
They do.
Yeah,
They do.
they do.
But you know,
They're used to the 5 jumps, but that's just,
usually. But you know, just
They still needed to feed you.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so you don't
you
talk.
Don't make
you don't-
fun
you
of
don't
cooks.
mess with cookies.
Don't
No,
make
you don't
because they put stuff in your food.
you don't mess with cookie or payroll.
Like a liter of cola for a cop.
Yeah.
But no, being a paratrooper and getting to train with some of the units that I got to train with, and do some really cool, everybody plays cops and robbers or army guys as kids. You run around your house, hide behind the porch. I did that shit for real, and I was like, man, you know what? That's pretty cool, man.
If only we would have practiced PLFs early in life when you're playing that would have saved.
But it doesn't matter how many times you practice PLF. Some people just like Will Smith in Independence Day when he felt like a sack of shit. That's what happens sometimes.
Yeah.
No matter if the wind's too high,
or you come in hot and you land right on the side of that M4,
or
just blow a thigh
you
up.
can't get that D-ring loose, and then you get drug across.
Or
the top
bicycle out if you're like that. Yeah. We digress. Sorry about that, boys. So this is a question we've been asking on some of the episodes lately that we got in from a reader. So if you could have a legit superpower, what do you think it would be and why?
Everybody says it could be a lot of things, but when it comes down to it, as active as I am, the one thing that probably scares me the most is growing old. And after being a soldier, and going out and doing things for years, you're this high-speed guy, and as you get older, you slow down.
Yeah.
And I don't want to slow down. So
I would actually... Youth?
No, I would say Wolverine. Just his, not the metal and all that stuff.
The ability to heal fast.
The ability to heal fast without being, live forever. I don't want to live, 800 years. I don't want to outlive my children. But I would love to be able to live just so I can train. And you know what? I'd go do some really stupid stuff because I know I'd come back to life.
Oh my gosh! I don't want that for that reason.
I'm the only paratrooper you ever meet that was afraid of heights. And to this day, let's get a parachute strapped to my back. I don't want to go, but I got into rock climbing a couple years ago too, but there's only so high I'm going to go. If you fall, it's going to hurt. Grab the ground. It's the second bounce that messes you up.
It is.
I promise.
It is the second.
But if you heal quick, then you don't have to worry about that.
I like it.
I can go get another tattoo, and in 30 minutes, I'm fully healed. I can go back and spar and not have no problems.
There we go.
That's solid.
All right. Next question is something we ask a lot of people. So, living or dead, if you could have a meal with anybody that you've never had a meal with before, who would it be and why?
I'm really torn on that. Actually, it would either be my grandfather that I've heard so many. The one that was a lodge.
Okay.
And I never got to meet him. He died a few months before I was born.
That's a good one.
I would absolutely love to that. But I also on the other
who
hand,
are you tearing this between? I want to hear this one.
This will surprise you. But I told you I was a huge Templar fanatic. I loved everything. Read Born in Blood. Fantastic book.
Okay.
Jacques de Molay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So those who have followed, on October 13th, we released our episode. We went into a lot of detail about the King Philip and Pope Clement and that fateful day that lasted for 7 years of torture. So, those are good. We've not heard Jacques de Molay yet.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's
very cool.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, because just think of the stories and think of that part of history that we don't really know that much about.
Right.
Really?
Well, the guys who write the history books are the ones that lived.
Yeah, for the most part.
Right.
The winners write the history books,
Right.
Yes,
Right.
always.
So, not that we're not saying this is catastrophic, but what's kind of wrong with Masonry today from the standpoint of why don't we have the people joining that we did in the 50s?
In the 50s, even all the way through the 80s, it was not just a social club. If it was also, if you were going to get promoted at work, you had to be one of those boys or be part of the club.
Okay.
And so it was kind of a mainstream, and there was a lot less to do back then. So it really kind of fit.
Competition of time, you're saying?
Exactly. So now, and we briefly touched on this, it's still being heralded almost as a secret organization, even though everything's out there. Really, the internet. You can still go find.
Can you argue we're more private than secret?
I say more private.
Yeah. I mean, but people always call us secret, but
it's interpretation.
private.
It's how they want to interpret your actions.
Yeah.
And that's why I had a party a few years ago, and there was guys from my gym. There was a bunch of the Shriners that were at the house. We had like 70 people at my house, and that way they could all meet each other and get to know each other, and getting the people to see who you really are as people and how you interact with each other.
It is fun to have your Masonic friends, your non-Masonic friends blend.
Isn't
in
it a different vibe though? And then
yeah.
sometimes they don't get it. It's like, why are you always hanging out with the Shrine guys?
But that's the thing, because they'll ask that question.
Yeah.
And when you got guys like Doc Rensner or Kyle Rohr at your house, who was a walking encyclopedia of history of Masonry and Shrine,
and they're just cool dudes.
Exactly, everybody loves a little drummer boy.
Yeah.
But they can ask those questions. They're like, so what is it that draws them? Because they know me from one side, jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and all the other things. What draws Devon to you guys? And then they get to talking to them, and then, wow, you guys are actually
okay. I
cool.
get it. Yeah.
So get people to see us and who we are, not just the egg hunts and those things that they do out in public. Yeah. Get them in a more social environment.
I would challenge every Mason to do more of that.
Like a mixer. They call it a mixer back in the day.
Yeah. Have a mixer. But make sure that you are...
You do a nice job with mixers.
That you have your church friends, that you have other friends, and you bring them together.
Because you already have one common denominator.
Yes.
You do.
Okay.
So there's always somebody to bridge the gap.
That's your homework, Masons. Do a mixer in the next 60 days.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's fair.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't need to be... It can be 3, 6, 10 people.
Right.
It doesn't need to be 60,
Well, another
70.
thing, get the significant others in there, because if you get the significant other signed off, it sure doesn't make that next step.
If ladies are get together and hang out, then absolutely.
Yeah.
Good to call.
Yeah.
So, if a lodge officer came to you and said, you know what, we think that you would fit for being a lodge officer, do you have aspirations to do that? Would you answer that
questions
call?
Here? Yeah.
I've done it. I'm actually a junior steward with BGB right now, and I
didn't know that.
Unfortunately, I have another commitment that I'm double booked on that same third Thursday of every month, so I'm not as active as I'd like to be, and as well as having 2 high school kids, one middle school, one high school, all the sports. Trying to find that balance is really, really hard. I'm in a position now where I can actually take off more time than I used to.
Yeah.
And things are slowly developing and moving more open. I would say I would like to do it. I was on the divan last year for the Shrine.
Yeah.
And actually, I took over your position. I didn't fill it very well. But
no. Listen.
I don't have the same amount of character as you do.
Well,
but,
bad character is character nonetheless.
But it was a fun
character,
time.
all right. Sometimes it was a little much.
I would have to be a lot more proficient. And that's something I definitely need to work on. But I'm bringing 2 guys in right now. And
Masonry is a progressive science.
It really is.
When you start it, they'll progress you.
So you walked into you said the word proficiency. Walk into a question. So proficiency. Proficiency is a big thing everywhere, right? So would you rather? Would you rather have from Tyler to Master all card holding proficiency guys, or would you rather them be in motivational and inspirational leaders? You can't have a hybrid mix. It's got to be one or the other.
I would have to say proficient.
Okay.
Because one, we're all natural leaders or we wouldn't be in there in the first place.
Okay.
Second of all, if you take too many leaders and you put them in one place and they're always trying to outdo the other person, it takes away from Masonry.
Okay, you took me we've had lots of different opinions about that.
Yeah, there's
Think about it. We're all natural leaders
Okay.
that join Masonry because we're putting others before ourselves to become a better human being. And the best leaders aren't the ones that jump out in front and start screaming, "Follow me." They're the ones that walk out front and just go do the job.
Okay.
And everybody naturally follows them because they want to be like them. And General James Schofield in the 1890s at West Point said it best, that it's possible to impart instruction in such a manner and tone of voice that it will inspire in others an undeniable desire to follow your commands. So be that strong leader that talks softly and carries a big stick.
yeah.
Mic drop.
I think we're sort of done.
We are. So, because of that, we're going to end with this. The most important question of the podcast, holiday season. Up on the screen, folks, we have turkey any way you want. It's moist, it's dry, it's fried, it's whatever you want. Pumpkin pie with the amount of nutmeg you don't want or want. We've got stuffing or dressing. And ham, any way you want it. Devon, one has to go forever. It was never invented. Which one is it and why?
That's an easy one. Pumpkin pie. Absolutely hate it. I
wow.
loathe the smell of it. I don't like nutmeg. I don't walk around in skinny jeans and Ugg boots. I don't drink, pumpkin spice beers.
Latte.
None of that stuff.
I don't know.
I have never, to this day, I've never made a bad turkey. I brine mine and I smoke mine for 6 to 8 hours. Ham, I always do one, coming up here in Christmas, and I will put it in the smoker and I'll cold smoke it for 2 days.
Okay.
As long as the temperature's low enough outside.
Sure.
I'll cold smoke it for 2 days before I even turn the temperature on. I have never, ever made a bad ham or a bad turkey, but I absolutely hate pumpkin pie.
So, I love the fact that you said you've never made a bad turkey. So, my college roommates...
Fair.
We did a turkey back, we were 18, 19, and we were impressing the girls next door. I truly believe that you almost have to be just completely, I don't know the term because I don't want to just insult everybody. How can you make a bad turkey? Even if you just...
You can try it out. You can cook it too long.
But if you just follow the instructions, you can put it in the oven.
Okay, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, just
Following
because
yeah.
most people want to set and forget it. And to cook a turkey correctly, and
a lot of times in the oven, it's as simple.
Nerd alert.
I know, but
nerd alert.
Too many times in the history, my grandmother was guilty of this as well. You put it in the oven, you take it out, and look, they put stuffing in the turkey. All that does is absorb all the moisture.
All the moisture, yes.
So people overcook it.
Yeah.
You should actually cook any meat product 5 to 10 degrees under where it should be. That way, when it's resting, it finishes cooking. And what I do for my turkey, since it's been smoked, the skin gets tough. I have a roasting oven with chicken stock in there, and I let it rest in there for an hour to two. And the skin, it doesn't soak up any moisture. It's on the rack. It just it steams the skin soft.
Okay.
But because I brine mine before I cook it, it absorbs a lot of the moisture and actually fills up with more moisture so it doesn't dry out.
Well, folks, thanks for watching turkeys for Thanksgiving. Thanks for watching the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast. Cheers.
Thanks
Devon.
me, guys. Appreciate you.
What did you think of this episode? To continue to promote Freemasonry, hit that like button now. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and give us a comment. The Old-Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where real Masons talk Freemasonry. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a comment.